All right. All right. So our next author is Andrew Faulkner, Folkler. Andrew Folkler, your chapter is called Roots and Wings. It looks like you're in a Starbucks. Thank
I'm,
you so much
yeah,
for doing whatever it takes.
absolutely. I'm in a library actually, but yes.
Okay, got it. All right. Well, I appreciate that, and hopefully, and so I'm going to ask you a few questions. So, to share with us a little bit about the your contribution and maybe what the thoughts were, what helped you in the process of, because I know writing is something that's a very subconscious processing kind of thing, and a lot of times it brings up things you didn't expect when you set out to write the chapter. But what is the one message you hope readers take from your chapter?
Yeah, I think that one of the most important things is that when we are beset with tragedy, that your story doesn't end there. It's very easy to get caught up and overwhelmed by that tidal wave of emotions and to sink down and spiral into this, you could say, this pit of despair, so to speak. And when you're in that sunken place, you get so overwhelmed to the point where you just give up. You give up on the things that you love. You give up on the things that bring you joy, the things that make you want to get out of bed in the morning. And it's not just family related things. We're talking your hobbies. We're talking it takes you longer to even take a shower just because you just don't like, what's the point anymore? So my chapter is mostly focused on rather than focusing on alienation or the damages that's causing, I'm focusing on what you can do once you reunite, because I think that it's important to know that your story doesn't end there, your chapter doesn't end there, that there's going to come a point in time where this too shall pass, and you need to be ready for building something new. It's the idea of the phoenix rising from the ashes, where you are going to, in spite of all of those challenges, in spite of all of those things that set you back, you have a chance to build something new and something unique. Yes, alienation puts you in a place where you're not going to get the relationship and the life and the parenting image that you had expected. Or if you're the child, you're not going to have the childhood you expected. But right now, you can do something. And I think that it's important to put the power back into the parents' hands, because the parents are in a position where they're like, family court has taken away my ability to be a parent. The other alienator has taken away my ability to be a parent. The child is not letting me be a parent. And so we need to put power back in the parents' hands. And one of the best ways to do so is to actively prepare themselves and to know what to expect once they reach that point in reunification.
And that's not an easy thing, as a targeted parent who has lost contact, a loving relationship with your child, due to no fault, of your own or perceived thought of. It's it's painful. It's one of those things where you're like, you feel like your whole life is put on pause, and you're like, oh well, when that happens, then I'll do this. Um, it's and yet what you're saying is you've got to go on. You've got to go on and prepare yourself, maybe prepare yourself for um the person that you can be when they're ready.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think the way I like to frame it is we should show your child what courage looks like in the face of adversity.
Mhm.
And I get it. That's an overwhelming ask for, and for many parents, they might scoff a little bit and be like, "Hey, you don't know what I've been through," and you'd be right. Um, at the same time, the alternative is to sink down deeper and deeper into that pit of despair. And when the alienated child's looking two possible parents, the parent who rose above the challenge, rose above and beat that challenge, or the parent that, you know, folded and just wasn't able to rise up. I mean, I get it. It's a lot of uh, like a lot of talk that you might hear in like the Rocky movies, where it's not about how hard you can hit, but how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. But at the same time, I mean, your child's going to look at one of those two versions of you, and you have to decide which version you're going to be. And if you choose to be the version that's stronger, that rises up, that maintains a certain level of positivity in spite of all the cynicism that's out there, your child's going to see that and be like, how in the hell are they able to do that? How, how is this possible? And you want to evoke that curiosity in your alienated child because that's one of those elements that's going to help them break through their alienation. And then, assuming they do, that's also what's going to help them find their own footing because, alienation doesn't end with reunification, it ends with healing.
Yes, I agree. It's certainly not easy, and it's hard to step out of the label of victim. As long as you're the victim, you carry on the victim label on your chest, you don't have any responsibility to take, you don't have to take ownership. You don't have to fix yourself. You can just kind of stew in it, in the soup of toxicity. But if you've refused to be a victim and say, yep, this happened, and what I'm going to do with it. Um, that's the most important thing is what are you going to do with it? And I think each one of us in this book who've been personally affected by alienation realize we're not the only ones. And if we can somehow take our pain and channel it to purpose to help somebody who is in the darkness, we're no longer a victim at that point.
Absolutely. And it's something I've experienced myself. I was both an alienated child and also someone who was alienated from a sibling by the same alienator, after I broke away.
Mhm.
And I too was in that position of I can't do anything until I reunite. I dropped out of college. I was working like a low paying job, just trying to scrape by while doing all of these different efforts to try and reconnect, and all of them failed. And I was pulling my hair out, trying to figure out how to do all of this. And I wasn't dating anybody. I wasn't doing anything with my life. And, 5 years went by and I had made no progress in my own self. I wasn't anyone more stable or more approachable when it comes to reuniting. And the most mind-blowing thing that happened to me occurred right after I read The Count of Monte Cristo, because that it's a for those who have not read it, it's a revenge story about a guy who is falsely imprisoned and he takes revenge on the people that had hurt him. And right after I was reading that book, I felt like Alexander Dumas grabbed me by the collar and was like, Andrew, what are you doing with your life? You can go down this path of like of trying to uh prove everybody wrong, prove that you can beat this trauma by force, or you can go out and live your life. And right after reading that, and right after making the decision to start living my life, I think about a year later, I had reunited with my alienated sibling. And because my approach had changed, because I was focusing on myself, I wasn't as needy. I wasn't clinging to whether my messages were being replied to or not. I wasn't calculating things. I wasn't trying to scheme up ways for them to communicate with me. And in doing so, my own energy changed and it paid off so much faster than I had ever anticipated.
Yes, I can definitely relate to that. Um, I think all of us have met, or some of us have met a child, a needy, clingy child. I like to bring things down to the 5-year-old level. I
Yeah,
always say that we are all a bunch of grown-up 5-year-olds because we have the same wants and needs as a 5-year-old. But 5-year-olds are so like transparent. You can see those simple needs and wants of a 5-year-old because they don't haven't perfected the art of masking them those things. And yeah, like, little 5-year-olds that are needy, 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 you want to like push them away, which makes them want to need more of you. But it's the one that just sits back and accepts things the way they are and the way they aren't that has you want to come and approach them.
absolutely.
Oh, very good. Well, thank you so much, Andrew, for joining us and being part of this launch on Friday weekend when so many people have family in town, so many people are shopping, and they this is probably one of the busiest times of the year for people, but yet um, our authors have been so committed to this one united voice of helping people who are
Yeah.
experiencing child custody conflict that you're here and several of our other authors are here to talk about it. And Dawn, we've got number one best-selling. So
Yes, and
already,
I wanted to add on to, I'm glad that Andrew's here because we're starting to get more and more adult survivors that are speaking up. But Andrew brings a very strong um, we have a lot of women that speak out, so we don't have as many of the men adult survivors. So Andrew definitely steps into that space, and I just wanted to call that out and say, everybody has a voice, and we want to support everybody's voice regardless of gender, but the dynamics definitely affect anybody. Nobody's immune.
right,
And I think it's so appropriate, Andrew, that you're doing this interview from a local library. So, our book, as you know, has reached, a number one bestseller. But our goal is for the book not only to be where it is now housed at the Library of Congress, Volume One and Volume Two, but to see it, at all the local libraries in all the communities across the United States and around the globe. So, I look forward to sending you a copy so you can present it to the library that you're at now, so that it's just meant for all families to use to as a tool to heal. So thank you, Andrew.
Absolutely. Thank you for including me.
I'm going to pause this.
So while